Okay, so what's up you guys? Welcome back to my channel. So today I wanted to do a video talking to you guys about my experience dating as a transgender woman here in Atlanta. That these are my personal experiences and my personal life story. This does not apply to every trans person across the board. We are all different. We all experience different things, but this is just my personal story. Okay, before I actually get into the part about me dating, I wanted to basically explain to you guys a little bit about my upbringing and how I was raised and how I feel like that actually played a part in with some of the situationships and relationships that I ended up being in as an adult. Growing up, I feel like I was very much ostracized and isolated from the rest of my family. I grew up with my father's side of the family, the beginning stages of my life, and that side of the family is all males. I was basically raised by my grandparents, and not for nothing, my dad is like a whole generation older than my mom. So my dad's side of the family, they're all at least 10 to 20 years older than me. I have one female blood cousin, but all of my cousins and all of my uncles and stuff, they're all men. Growing up, I dealt with a lot of bullying, a lot of discrimination, and basically me just having to constantly be in a battle just to prove my existence, because I never once was ever a bad kid, but I was bullied a lot for being feminine, being flamboyant. It played a lot into who I am today and why I feel like I kind of battled within my dating life. It was a all my life I had to fight type of situation. I think it's important to say that I consider myself bisexual. In the beginning half of my life, I was only dating females. Growing up as a trans woman, a lot of us is not really taught self-love. A lot of us is taught self-hate. I feel like from the very beginning, if you show signs of being trans from when you're young, I feel like you deal with a lot of people telling you who you are as a human being is wrong. And I feel like that was basically embedded into me from a very young age. I was taught that everything about me was basically wrong, that I was basically an abomination, and I feel like that basically transcended into my love life. It resulted in me being very insecure, basically me kind of in a constant battle of searching for love rather than letting love find me. It turned me into this insecure, kind of hopeless romantic type of person. Wasn't taught proper boundaries. A lot of trans women are not grown up to be, I guess people are supposed to teach their daughters about self-love and things that they're supposed to accept and not accept from men. I don't think a lot of trans people, or just myself in particular, was particularly taught that. I feel like from my childhood, I was never taught anything about love and valuing myself. I think most of my childhood was basically 99% of the time me just defending my existence. I was, like I said, I was constantly bullied. I was constantly if I wasn't bullied, I was in trouble for basically being who I was. And I never really understood, because I was never a bad kid. I was actually always quiet to myself, but throughout my whole childhood, it was kind of like a all my life I had to fight type of situation because nobody would like basically leave me alone. One of the pivotal moments I feel like of my childhood that also played out in my dating history was when I was like in my early teens. I was molested by one of my family members, and it was I think it had a weird effect on me. Like, it definitely did scar me, but not in a way where I felt like I don't want to make light of molestation, but it kind of opened my mind into actually liking men. Prior to that particular moment, even though I was always bullied for being gay and feminine and whatnot, I always dated women. I always had an attraction to women, but there was a particular point within my childhood when I was molested and I was exposed to actually a man. It made me kind of curious, and then from that point on I was only dating and interested in men. Within my adulthood, I feel like, ironically, I didn't have an attraction to all men. I only had attraction to men who looked like this particular family member who molested me. Particularly men who kind of look like this particular family member, which is odd and weird to say, but it is. And I only give men that I'm attracted to my time of day. Like, and that could partially be my issue too. Like, I'm 100% fully aware of that. Like, because I'm only attracted to one type of man, I isolate a whole group of men who, like, I try to date, like, disclaimer, like, I try to date men who's not my type, and I do be feeling like they would love me and give me the world, but just the me and the lesson that I need to learn is like, you know, dead outside your type, you probably find something, but I just don't want to. I started basically dating kind of late in my teenage years. Like in the beginning of me dating, it was kind of hard for me to decipher a man just wanting me physically versus a man actually wanting me. I felt like I was like actually really desperate. Like, to be honest, looking back, I wish I would have had somebody to tell me not to even focus on men. But a lot of my early teens and my late teens and early 20s, and I'm still in my early 20s, I'm only 24. Basically, my dating experience have been particularly, probably is not as good as everybody else because I personally do not have an attraction to all types of men like I do women per se. I'm only attracted to like one type of man. So basically, when I was younger, I used to basically mistake men wanting to basically have sex with me as them actually loving me, and I put myself through a lot of heartbreak, not recognizing the signs of men just wanting me as a fling. Because I had such low self-esteem about myself, I used to accept the bare minimum. Like, I was never the type to require a guy to do anything to show that he was interested in me versus, I guess, them wanting to have sex with me, because I felt like I had this deep-rooted insecurity about with being trans. I just kind of had to accept a lot of the shit that comes with, I guess, being trans. 9 times out of 10, I run into DL men I used to say that I felt like these boys were generally into me, and some of them were, but I feel like a lot of the times I was mostly just a fetish for most of these men. In the beginning, I really didn't see the signs. Like, I really thought these guys were into me more than just sexually, but a lot of these situations turned out to be nothing more. Looking back, it's because I didn't require any of these men to actually prove to me why they're worthy of my body before giving them my body. I feel like I was more so searching for love than actually attracting and accepting what actually loves me. And to be honest, looking back, I wish somebody would have told me not to even focus on dating when I was younger. But part of me feel like because I wasn't taught these lessons as a child, I'm kind of am grateful that I went through them in my early teens and not like later on, like now or later on in my 20s, because I can't imagine like being like in my late 20s going through my first heartbreak, you know. I didn't require men to like actually put forth effort into courting me or showing me that they actually want me. And I came across basically a lot of men, not a lot of men, but I came across a handful of men who basically only either wanted me for my body, or they did like me and they basically didn't have the balls enough to actually like me enough to be 100% open with what they like. If a man is not gonna come out openly trans attractive for you, 9 times out of 10 he just wants you for sex. It's not the situation is not nothing serious for him. Basically 9 times out of the 10 when I ended up dating men, I turned out basically what was a love situation for me, that I was just a fetish, a toy for them, like, and when I was younger I didn't really even see like the wrong in it, because I was such in the search of wanting to be loved that I accepted anything. So when I was about 20 years old, I started to be more around the gay scene, and then within discovering the gay scene, I discovered butch queens. I discovered the gay boys who were trans attracted to trans girls, and that also was a fail for me. I think my issue was it's because I'm not attracted to all men, that when I do find a guy that I like, whether they're gay or straight, I kind of like cling on to that man, kind of knowing that the situation is not going in the direction that I wanted to, but it's is part of my like, I guess, desperation, because even though I used to see the signs of a man not particularly wanting me for more than anything, I clinged on because I didn't have very much faith, I don't know, that I would find anything better out there for me. It really was no different within dating gay men. I feel like when I started dating gay men, I don't feel like they actually like trans girls per se, or at least the man that I dated, I don't think he liked trans girls. They call it the butch queen, femme queen narrative. I dated a butch queen who dated me for her clout. Gay men do 9 times out of 10 do not have issues, the issues of like not wanting to be seen in public as heterosexual men do. Heterosexual men, they're like DL to the world, to where they're like scared to even like be outside with you because they think that they're gonna run into some cousin, brother, sister, uncle, nephew, something, or friend, stranger. They're just insecure about anybody being seen with you. And at the time, I perceived that as them accepting me in his particular situation, he was just using me until he got his shit together. I feel like I ended up in a lot of toxic situationships. To this day, I don't ever consider myself that I was ever even in a real relationship. I was in situationships, but I don't think I was ever in a real relationship. Personally, the gay men that I dated ended up turning into my pimp, and I basically allowed this man to prostitute me out because I was desperate for his love. I went into like a huge big ass depression, and I kind of developed the mind state of, if love was going to continuously be a losing game for me, I'm just going to be a hoe. So at the time, after not dealing with him anymore, I started doing porn. And within doing porn, I went into it with the mind state I was about to show this man how many niggas want me and how many men actually wanted me, but that didn't do nothing but prove nothing. You know, if men was only gonna want me for my body and they only gonna want me sexually, I was gonna make some money off of it. A lot of people don't even see trans girls as actual human beings with a heart and feelings. A lot of us are only seen as sexual objects. So I feel like, why not make money off of a man who's only gonna want you for sex? Like, I feel like I became an overnight porn star. My first video was actually catapulted my career and made me very successful. It quickly ended for me personally because I quickly got tired of being seen in a light of being a sex object. Where yes, men always, before I did porn and after I did porn, that men both times, in both instances, seen me as a fetish, but it wasn't a proper representation of who I was. So quickly, I feel like by the time I was like over the heartbreak from the guy who was my pimp, I was not into being a porn star anymore. I feel like that was something that I did out of being hurt. I made a lot of money from doing porn, and but it didn't really last for me because who I am on the inside, I am not like a whore. I am like an awkward nerd type of person. Like, I'm not very promiscuous. It wasn't generally who I was on a soul level. Like, I've met certain girls before who are in the escorting lifestyle, and I feel like it's actually for them, because generally outside of being a hoe, like a paid hoe, there actually are hoes. So I quit doing porn, actually went celibate, and I started focused on my actual career, which is being a hairstylist. So now that we made it to the part of the video where you learned all about my shady lack of dating experience, I feel like these are some helpful tips that you should know before actually dating a trans woman. So rule number 1 is have genuine interest in a trans woman. Like, I feel like you should not go into actually dating trans women if you are the type of man who only sees us as sexual objects. There is a bunch of girls that are cool with just having sex, and there are girls who are paid sex workers for men who are just looking to have sex with trans women. If you're going to want to pursue a trans girl, make sure that you're 100% sure that this is something that you actually want to do, and this is a side of yourself that not only them that you want to explore, but a side of yourself that you are generally interested in exploring before actually engaging with that trans person. I feel like you should go into it as an open book and being 100% honest with them, because you never know like what a lot of us are going through, And yes, could be something that's like an experiment for you, but you never know on the flip end how this could really be like a really big thing for us. You know, a lot of us deal with bullshit, and you never know like what could be somebody's breaking point, and you never want to be the blame of why something could possibly go wrong. Like, you know, the second tip that I have is be ready to understand that others may not understand your interest within trans girls. A lot of the time I find that men it's hard for them, even if they do like the trans girl, it's hard for them to actually come out and be with them, because a lot of them are afraid of, I guess, that public perception that they would have once coming out. As a trans woman, I do understand how it feels to be, you know, people don't fuck with you no more, or people just, you know, just don't deal with you no more. Like, when I came out as gay then as trans, I lost a bunch of people both times. But you gotta think about it, like, what's worth more to you? People who are going to be in your life just for the false perception of you, or people who are going to be in your life who genuinely loves you for you, no matter who you choose to love. So, I mean, if coming out is a big deal to you, then I would say you're not particularly ready to date a trans woman, because a lot of us already went through the whole process of losing people and having to find a new chosen family all over again. When a guy cares more about his family's perception of it is dating me, it makes me feel like, so what the fuck do you think of me, like, per se? Like, it's just like, I don't want to feel like, okay, like, if you're trying to date me, you feel like your family opinion is more important than making me the person that you're trying to pursue happy. It makes me feel like you think of me as something wrong, or something that should be taboo, or something that should be a secret, which resorts back to you only wanting me as a fetish. And if that's what you want, just say that you only have a fetish of fucking trans girls. Like, you don't have to try to keep up a facade that dating is something that you're interested in or something that you want to pursue, when you simply don't have to. The next thing I would recommend you to do is educate yourself on trans and queer culture. Well, I feel like not every girl is like into like the whole gay scene, but I would definitely feel like you should do your research on trans people before actually trying to date a trans person, so that you don't think of us as aliens. Like, I realize that a lot of people do not come in contact with trans people every day, and then they don't see us as actual like human beings per se. We're just like everyday people like you, but we're just people who are simply, I feel like, with a medical condition that we feel like we're trapped in the wrong body. That's just simply what it is. So the next tip that I have is to reflect on your own gender and your own sexuality. I feel like if you're not going into the situation where you're 100% comfortable with who you are, it's not necessarily right to, you know, bring someone along that journey with you and you're not 100% comfortable with who you are. Like, I tell guys all the time, like, when you're not comfortable with yourself, it's like me being around you is, every time I'm around you, I have to disrespect myself and compromise my personal morals and my personal values to make you feel comfortable. Like, if you're at the point where you're not ready to come out, or you're not ready to be to live in your truth, I basically have to live in your delusion to make you feel comfortable, and it's really good and get somebody else to do it. I don't want to constantly keep getting hurt by a man who don't know what he is, what his sexuality is, and if he's not 100% completely comfortable with it within himself, who's to say that once, you know, like, a lot of men, I experienced it, they will get deep into the situation, but they will still get to the point where they will never come out. You have the trans person there who's like now probably deeply in love with you, but we're in a situation at a crossroad where you're not going to come out, and now I have to deal with a heartbreak because you're not man enough to be who you want to be, or you're not man enough to love who you want to love in the open. My next tip is to know that every trans woman's life is different. I feel like a lot of the times that when people, 9 times out of 10, see trans women, they see us in porn. They see us in, like, not the, you know, they see us in porn. So a lot of times men approach us like we're all just these, like, porn stars, and we're all just these sexual objects, and that's what we're about. A lot of us, 9 times out of 10, like, it's kind of hard for me to ever, like, even before I started doing porn, the construed notion that I'm a hoe or I'm promiscuous. Like, just know that not every girl is the same. Like, just how there are promiscuous straight women or biological women, there are promiscuous trans women, just how there's women who are, I guess, biological women that you would consider wifey material. There are trans women that are nice, wholesome human beings with regular backgrounds, and that just because someone is trans, not all trans people transition just to get fucked by niggas. There's a section of trans girls who are just feel like we were just girls trapped in the wrong body, and we're just doing our best to present as who we feel like on the inside, and it's just simply as that. A lot of us are just regular people with regular everyday lives, with everyday jobs, and you shouldn't just, you know, go into it with prejudgments, and just get to know each person individually as an individual human being versus grouping us all together into one category. Okay, so those were all the tips that I had for anybody who was genuinely trying to get to know, for men who are trying to get to know or date trans women. If you guys enjoyed this video today, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Please don't forget to check out all my socials down below. Comment, rate, and subscribe on this video. And I'm gonna see you guys in my next video. Bye, guys.